Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing my March wrap up. I had a really good reading month in March. I want to go over some quick stats. So in March I read 13 books. I read 6 audios, 4 physical, and 3 Kindle books. So I read a really good mixture of books this month, reading different ways. So I'm very excited about that. I think I had a pretty good reading month. I was pretty stressed out this month with some personal stuff going on, and I just felt overwhelmed. And sometimes when I feel really overwhelmed, it's hard for me to just sit down and read a book. For some people, they can just dive into the world. But for me, for some reason, when I get overwhelmed, I just need to take a second from like my hobbies and what I like to do and just have a second to chill, go for a walk, whatever. So I did feel like pretty stressed out this month, but I'm feeling better and I'm excited for April. I'm excited for spring. This winter has been so gloomy and just like no sunshine, and I am a total sunshine girly. I love sunshine and being outside in nature, and so I am so excited for spring to start coming up. And I love getting like fresh flowers for my home and like putting them around the house, and I just love it. So anyways, the first book I want to talk about is the birthday list. I don't have a physical copy of this book yet, but I wanted to include it. I wanted to do it first so I can get that out of the way and get into my physical books. So I listened to this one. This was one of my last books of March, and I really liked this one. I listened to it on audio. So this is about our heroine, and like 5 years ago her husband was murdered, and she still is pretty traumatized by that and doesn't want to move on yet. And so her husband, I think it was his birthday that night, and he created this whole birthday list for different ages. He will do different new things that he has never done before. And so she is now trying to finish off that list and do every single thing he put on that list. And so one of the things is karate, do a karate class. And so she goes to this karate class, and she actually finds out that the guy that is the trainer of the karate class is the police officer that told her husband was murdered. And so they have a romance, and it's really, really cute so far. I mean, in the beginning, it's very, very cute. It's very slow burn, emotional, and they do not get together very quickly in the book. It is pretty slow burn in the beginning, which I really appreciated, and he just really let her have her time before they got together and before they had a relationship. He really wanted to start a friendship with her first, and I really like that. And on the side, they never solved the case of what happened to her husband, so they're trying to figure that out, and he is assigned on the case, and I really liked it. I really love the small town vibe. She owns this really cute restaurant called the Mason Jar, and all of the foods are prepared in mason jars, and then people take them home, and her last name is Mason. And so I thought that was a really fun, cute touch. And there are these grumpy old men in the book, like this one man who always comes into the store, always complains, but he just like really loves the heroine, and then is kind of like a adoptive grandfather to her. And then her husband's grandfather she is really close with, so that was really cute. And they kind of hate each other, the two like grandfatherly figures. And I just really liked this book. It was really cute. I liked the premise of it, and I really enjoyed it and thought it was a great solid romance from Demi Perry. The first book I read in March was the Duke and Lady in Red. So this book has been on my TBR for over a year now, and I have just put it off because I've heard it's super emotional and super gut-wrenching, so I decided to finally pick it up. I listened to it on audio, and I just love this book. It was so good. I really love Lorraine Heath's audiobooks, and my Hoopla has a lot of them, so I just listened to them on there. And this one is pretty like a unique romance. So our heroine is taking care of somebody, and she really needs to get some money, and so her like adult life, she has been conning people, like older men and men of nobility, out of money. And so the hero is like the person she has her sights on next, and so she is trying to seduce him so that she can get money from him. And so she ends up trying to seduce him and then get the money from him and run away to Scotland. But he finds out, and he tells her, well, you can have this money if you spend a week with me. And so she's like, fine, I'll do it. And so they spend a week together, and it starts blooming into a romance. That's all I'm going to say. But this book was really good. I really loved the hate to love, angsty, passionate chemistry they had for each other, and how she really had to look out for the person that she was taking care of and really had to make sure the decisions she was making were for the better of her family. And there is, I do want to put a disclaimer and a trigger warning that there is the death of one of the characters in this book, a secondary character, so that is pretty prevalent in the story, but I really loved it. It was very emotional, and I really enjoyed this book, and I love Lorraine Heath's writing, so I just absolutely love this one. The next book I read this month was The Frat Boy by Nikki Sloan. I really love this one. This was such a fun romance. So our hero and heroine are in rival like sororities and frats, and they do this like contest every year where they go up against each other doing like relay races and stuff. And so the heroine sees one of the frat guys from the hero's frat basically cheat, and it starts this whole big fight between them and gets them both kicked out, her and the heroine, out of their frats and like sorority. And so they both need somewhere new to live, and so she is going to this like house where you can like live in the house, but you also have to work there and do adult videos, and he comes in for the same audition as her, and so they have to actually act out a scene together, and they absolutely hate each other, detest each other, cannot stand each other, but their chemistry is off the charts amazing, and it is so good. I really loved this enemies to lovers romance. Like, this is a true enemies to lovers romance, and I ate it up. I really love this one. It was so fantastic, super quick to read, super spicy, lots of spicy scenes, one of the spiciest books I feel like I've read this month. So I really loved it, and I highly recommend it. The next book I read this month was Look the Part by Julie Ann. This one was fantastic. I gave this one 5 stars. I really loved it. I gave The Frat Boy, I think I gave it 5 stars. Yes, I gave it 5 stars. I love The Frat Boy. But Look the Part was amazing. I listened to it on audio. So our hero and heroine, it's basically a hate to love office like single dad romance. So our hero is a lawyer, and he is renting out an office building in his like office building, like renting out an office in his office building to the heroine, and the heroine is a music therapist. She uses music for therapy with kids and I think adults too, and she makes a lot of noise with her job, and he gets very irritated at her. She's very quirky, definition of sunshine and grumpy, and he holds a lot of guilt over his wife's passing. And I just really loved this one. I loved he was just this like tortured hero from guilt, but it wasn't really his, it's like not his fault of what happened to his wife. And I really loved his son. His son was like 8 years old, and he was this like genius of a kid, and he sometimes didn't know what to do with him. And the heroine just like loved his son, and she had her own quirks, and it was just a really fun book. I really loved it. Hate to love, so good. There was some emotionality towards the end, with like unresolved feelings, and I just really love this one. I really liked it, and one of the funniest things was that the heroine has 5 pet rats, and I thought that was so funny. And at one point they like escaped her office and got into the hero's office, and he freaked out, and it was like one of the funniest scenes I've ever read in a book. So I just like ate this one up, and I can't wait to read more from Julie E. Ann. The next book I read this month was A Court of Wings and Ruin. This is the 3rd book in the ACOTAR series, and this was my 2nd time rereading this book. And I can't say too much about this book because it is the 3rd book in a series, but this follows a group of fairies and in the time of war, and that's all I'm going to say. The series revolves around 2 characters. Well, it's hard to explain ACOTAR. It is just a fantasy fae romance series, and this is the 3rd book, and I really enjoyed my reread of this one and can't wait to reread A Court of Silver Flames. And I just love Nesta and Cassian, so I'm so excited to reread their story. So this month I definitely went on a historical romance binge read. I read a ton of historical romances, so One of my favorites of this month was Scourge of My Heart by Lorraine Heath. This one is amazing. So our heroine wants to marry somebody in high nobility, and she starts getting closer to her best friend's older brother, and he really likes her, she likes him, but she's trying to vie for the attention of this duke who is looking for a wife, and the duke is basically asking young women to send letters to him of like reasons why he should marry them. And she basically, they start spending, her and the hero spend more and more time together, and she's like, I don't really want to write a letter anymore. And he secretly writes a letter for her and gets like puts her in this situation where now she is engaged to the duke, and something happens where he goes away for like a year almost, and he comes back a totally different man, harder and more hardened by life, and he now owns a pleasure club, so it gets a little dark and dirty, and she's really mad at him for leaving her because she thought that they really had real feelings for each other, and it was really good. It was very angsty. She's engaged to somebody else, but she wants the hero, and I just loved this one. This is definitely a new favorite from Lorraine Heath. It was just so incredible. I loved it so much. I highly recommend the audio. I listened to it on audio and just loved it. So good. One of my favorites of the month. The next book I read this month was The Duke Most Wicked by Lenore Bell. So this one is, our heroine is a governess to the hero's three sisters, and the hero is a duke, and he is basically in debt and needs to marry somebody really fast, and he needs to get like marriage proposals for his younger sisters. So he ends up being engaged to somebody else, but he starts getting like closer to the heroine and learning more about her and getting to know her, maybe starting to fall for her, and it is really good. I really enjoyed this one. I give it 4 stars though. It wasn't like my all-time favorite from Lenore Bell, but I did really enjoy it. I thought it was really fun. I really love all the sisters. They have their own quirks. They really reminded me of like Beatrice Hathaway, and just like funny shenanigans they did, and I did really enjoy my time reading this one, but just not like an all-time favorite from Lenore Bell, and I really enjoyed this newest release from her. The next book I read was Give Me More by Sarah Kate. This is a polyamorous relationship, and this is between the one of the owners of the Salacious Players Club, his wife, and then somebody that they work with. They've always been best friends for years, and they decide to like start having a little bit of relationship, just first between the heroine and Drake, the other hero, not her husband, but then the other hero starts joining in, and I really liked this one. I did give it 4 stars. It wasn't my favorite of the series, but I really liked the openness and deeper talks in this one about sexuality, especially with the hero Hunter. He just had like a lot of prejudice against being bisexual and not wanting to be that way just because of the way he grew up and how his father trained that into him, that that's not okay to like men if you're a man. And I just really love the deeper aspects of this book. I liked the relationship, but not as much as others in this series. The next book I listened to on audio was Praying for Rain. This is a post-apocalyptic romance. I really enjoyed it. I give it 4.5 stars. It's pretty short. It is like 2 days before the end of Earth, and the heroine meets the hero, and they are trying to figure out a way to like solve what is going to happen or escape the end of the world, and it was pretty fun. I really enjoyed my time reading this one. Kind of hate to love it first and then insta-lovey because it all happens in the span of like 2 days, but I really enjoyed it, but I don't think I'm going to continue with the series. It's just like too much for me. I liked it, but not enough to continue with this series, but I did enjoy my time reading this. The next book I read in March was Mercy by Sarah Kate. So I basically just binged the last books in the Salacious Players Club series before Highest Bidder came out, so this is actually one of my favorites of the series. This is a reverse age gap romance. It is a dame / sub romance, and it was really good. So our heroine is one of the club owners of the Salacious Players Club, and she is known as a boss woman. She loves working, and she's into more the business side of the Salacious Players Club than being into like actually doing stuff at the club. And so she is trying to spice up her life and like kind of have a fun time, and so she ends up just taking the kink quiz that the club has for new people coming to the club to find out what their kink is. And she doesn't really think anything of it, but then she finds out her kink and she realizes that she is a dame, which is just a dominant in the bedroom. And she is just like, this is crazy, like I could never be this way. And she ends up getting matched with somebody, and so they start messaging each other and start like thinking, well, maybe we should meet up. And so they meet up during this like masquerade thing at the club and share like a moment of passion, and then they flip on the lights and see that each other is somebody that they know in real life. And the hero is Bay, who is the son of Emerson, who is one of the like club owners, and she is totally shocked and just like disgusted with herself for doing this. But then they're like, well, we don't have to tell anyone and we can start up our own relationship, and both figure this out because they both have never done this before and they're both very new. Like he doesn't even think he's a submissive. Then they start doing stuff and they learn together, and I really love this one. I thought it was amazing. It's definitely one of my favorites of the series. It deals with a lot with Bay's relationship with Emerson, his father, because Emerson is with his ex-girlfriend, and so he has a lot of healing to do with that. And I just love this one. I loved Maggie and Bay, and it was really good. I'd never read a Madame slash, oh, I don't know why I keep saying Madame. It's Dame slash sub romance, and it was really, really good, and I definitely want to explore this kink some more. Then I read Love in the Afternoon by Lisa Kleypas. I absolutely love this one. I listened to it on audio. So our heroine, Beatrix, I think it's Beatrice maybe, is one of the Hathaway siblings, and this is the like 5th and final book of this series. And so Beatrice's best friend Prudence has been writing Christopher the hero while he has been away at war as a soldier, and Prudence is kind of sick of writing Christopher. Like she is just not interested in writing him anymore, but Beatrice feels really bad for him and wants him to have somebody to write to, so she pretends to write to him as Prudence, and they really start falling for each other like through their letters. It's an epistolary romance, starts off as that, and it is just so cute. They share all of these stories of where they are back home, and she gives him tips because she has a lot of animals and she loves animals, and he doesn't know that she is actually Beatrice and not Prudence, but she feels really guilty about it. But she also kind of doesn't, because he was a little mean to her, thought that she was just, you know, a farm girl, said something mean to her about it, or she like overheard something. And so she's really scared to admit to him that she is Beatrice. So when he comes back from the war, he thinks that he is totally in love with Prudence and tries to find her, but then he ends up spending more time with Beatrice because he's around her, and he starts feeling really a lot of like gravitation towards Beatrice, but he doesn't know why. And I love this one. He gets very possessive over Beatrice, and I just really loved it. I love the audio. It was fantastic. I love when he like realized that Prudence was not the one who he was writing to. It was just so good. I loved seeing all of the rest of the characters in the series and them having their own families. I just love this one so much. 5 stars. If I didn't mention before, I gave Mercy 5 stars. I just am a little all over the place with this wrap up. But anyways, the next book I read in March was Yours Until Dawn by Teresa Medeiros. This is another favorite of this month. I give it 5 stars. It was amazing. This is kind of a little bit of a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but not really. So our hero lost his eyesight in war, I don't know what war it was, but he lost his eyesight, and he is the son of an earl, I think, and so his family has kind of pushed him off to this estate where he is alone to recoup and figure out how to survive now that he has lost his eyesight. And the heroine, is tasked with being his new nurse, and he is just really angry at the world and doesn't want anybody to help him. He just wants to wallow in this anger and hurt, but she is kind of there to brighten him up a bit and to help him, and he really hates her, and it is just so good. And it was a hate to love romance, but they have so much chemistry that they can't keep away from each other, and I really, really love this one. I loved the hero, I loved the heroine, and it was just such a beautiful story, and I loved seeing his journey of accepting losing his eyesight and just accepting that this is his life now, but it could be a good life. It doesn't have to be negative just because he lost his eyesight. And I just really love this one. It was really, really good. It was angsty too because she's kind of a commoner and he's the son of an earl. Like, he's gonna inherit the earldom, and I just really like this one. I gave it 5 stars. It was fantastic, and there's a big twist at the end that I really loved. The last book that I read in March was Highest Bidder by Sarah Kate. So I'm so glad that I got to read this at the end of March. It was so good. I did have really high expectations for this one just because I was really excited. It did feel kind of insta-lovey, and so I'm going to talk about that in a second, but this is the, I think, 5th book in the Salacious Players Club series, and this is a huge age gap romance. She is 21 and he is 56, and she basically gets, like, does a bet where she lost the bet and now she has to go do this auction. She's actually a bartender at the club, and she has to be on this auction and be auctioned off to, like, the highest bidder. And he feels really bad for her and bids on her, and he kind of takes her a little bit under his wing. She lives in her van. She, like, lives in a park in her van, which is really unsafe, and he's like, well, you can stay with me. And so they kind of start up a little bit of a friendship, and then they go to Paris together because he's like, have you ever been to Paris? And she's like, no. And then that's when their romance starts, and I really liked it. I did feel like it was kind of insta-lovey where they got together pretty quickly. They only knew each other for like 2 weeks, and I thought that was a little insta-lovey, and he was already saying, like, I love you, but I just felt like that was right maybe for the characters. I gave this one, I think, 4.5 out of 5 stars. It did feel insta-love, and he's like, will you marry me, at, like, when they were only 2 weeks into their relationship. But I really love the struggles they talked about, and this does deal with the loss of a child, so then know that going in if that triggers you. But I really loved Emerson. I mean, not Emerson. I really loved Ronan, and I loved his character. He's so sweet with the heroine, so protective, but not in a creepy way. And I just really loved this one. It was just so swoony. He's so sweet and caring and kind, and I really loved it, and I love the heroine. And I just really enjoyed this one. I think I had really high expectations for it, but it did meet some of those, but some of them I did feel like it was a little insta-lovey, but I still really enjoyed it. Alright, well, that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble on about all of the books I read in March. I had a pretty good reading month. I really loved my historical romance binge, and I'm definitely in the mood to read some more historical romances, but I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.